Good evening, everybody. Happy Friday. Well, lost again to Julie, JD, and Tuna because that is what happens. So it is time to drown the sorrows in another BS in a beer. And a slight roll of the dice for this one. We're going a little more back in time. This is a 2017. We shall slide it in. Although, it is sour right off the rip. Focus. Thank you. So this is beer brewed with natural flavors. I do know what those natural flavors are. That was English. 7%, so we do have a chance. I remember it was that time because we put those stickers on there because they didn't print them on there and they were all required to have one. And this is from Hofbrouwerijke, and I completely apologize for butchering that one. Apologies to Freedom Sufferer. But this is from Beerzel, Belgium, which also is the Flemish-speaking part of Belgium. So if this beer is good, we're going to talk about that for a minute. Oh, come on. 8-year, slightly sour ale. Come on. Bottle opener. Really? Really? This is how it's going to be, is it? Nope. No, it isn't. Okay. The sniff. All right, we're good. Ooh. Ooh. Well, that is a lot more spiced than I thought it was. So we've got our, as they put it, the Nonic pint glass, or just your standard. I think it's actually an English pint glass with the little fluted edge there. Let's get a little bit in there. Yeah. Okay, we have a victory. Yeah, that. Oops, sorry, bumped the camera phone there. All right. You know what? I think we're going to be in for something good. So stay tuned. We're going to flip this over and we're going to talk a little bit. And actually, because of the bar I used to work at, these are conversations, once again, that actually happened. And we're going to talk some comics. So
and
stay tuned. Here now, this is also a mark of the age. It was literally a matter of stopping the camera, moving the thing, and flipping the camera around. And the carbonation of the beer has completely disappeared. But again, that is probably a mark of age. Now, this is classified as what they call, it's a catch-all term. It's weird. There's some very specific styles of beer, but yet there's also a massive amount that fall under a few catch-all categories, and this is one of them, the old flower sour. This is under the catch-all of herbed or spiced beer. So it's like if they put in some sort of herb, some sort of spice, they just lump it in there, which I think they can break down and probably will over the coming years. But this one, it is a Belgian ale, obviously, from Belgium, the Flemish part, brewed with lavender, dandelion, heather, and chamomile. For those that don't know, and actually I have had it before in both beer and tea form. Heather it's a very interesting herb. It's almost like a combination of mint, lavender, but not overpowering lavender, which is good because lavender can get out of hand very quickly when using it as a fragrance or especially as a flavoring agent. And almost caramel. It's a very interesting thing. And then you've got chamomile in there, lavender, so that's going to give it that flowery smell. And yeah, it has that spiced, almost a chai aroma, like from the chamomile mixed with, I don't know, God, it's been forever since I've had dandelion anything. Dandelion wine? Blackout. That's blackout stuff. But we're going to give it a taste and see what we got. I actually don't know why they call it flower sour. It's not actually that sour. It's more bitter than sour. And if you know, there's a major difference between bitter and sour. But I like that. I get a lot of the chamomile. Do we get? Yep. There's that kind of dandelion bitterness. Lavender, not finding so much. Heather could be buried under there. I do get a little hint of mint, which could be the lavender. I'm glad that worked out. That was. Oh wait, no. Now there's a little bit of sourness at the end, but the good sour, the right bacteria sour. Anyway, we're gonna go on. This one, it's a VR. It's a combination VR and normal bar ramblings for me. It's for Alex Big Blue. He is running his 500 sub giveaway winner, or giveaway contest, I should say. It's going on until October the 10th, and basically, for the comic people, he is asking, and I actually thought this was, here's the thing, I thought this one was going to be a lot easier than it was. Because, like, the first couple, boom, 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 came off the rip. But essentially, he is curious for the comic people, or even not even comic people, for the Marvel and DC Universe people. Swap 5 characters from DC and Marvel, and kind of give a little thing of why. So, like, one would go to DC and vice versa in a trade, like an even square one-on-one trade. And I thought of it, I'm like, you know what, that could be interesting, because, like I say, in the bar I used to work at, I talked, or had to talk, a lot of comics, a lot of sci-fi, a lot of everything, with not just the clientele, but also the guys that I worked with. So I kind of got versed in all that stuff, plus the normal bar ramblings, which I don't know, maybe I'm half decent at. And pictures are going to come up there. God, I wish I would have been able to have pictures back in the bar days. You know how nice it would be if you could just do this and a picture of something would just pop up. I don't know, Zach, put up a blurry MP3 of a mongoose there or something. I don't know. But in any event, but the ramblings continue. So, trade number 1, and I'm gonna give it down, and I'm also gonna say this in advance. I'm probably going to upset some people. Shocker for me. First off, this is a trade more for, and I didn't really, some of them were kind of one-sided because I couldn't really think of anything else. But from the team of the X-Men, I'm going to take Beast, Hank McCoy, the absolutely brilliant scientist and humanitarian. How he got lumped in with the X-Men, couldn't quite tell you. Their group was shaky at best. And I'm going to switch him over to the DC Universe. And to make the trade, I am swapping out the original Robin, Dick Grayson, going over to the X-Men. Now, here's my reason why. And actually, the reason is going to come down to Beast. I'm going to pair him with Batman, because as we know, Batman's superpower is Alfred. Alfred and basically unlimited money. Whereas, can you imagine, because, like, Beast in the comics and whatnot, if he had a lab set up, the things he could do. So I want to see what in the world Beast could do with the wealth of Batman behind him, plus, the Bat computer, plus Alfred, who, depending on the comic version you read of him, is very ingenious, to say the least. That combination would be quite interesting, especially with Batman having to rely more on, tech and this and that than the fact that he is a mutant, which he is not, but Hank McCoy is. And then I'm going to send Robin over. I mean, he just kind of fits the X-Men thing. Like, so many of the X-Men, in my opinion, were just characters I really couldn't get behind. Like, and I don't know. It's weird. I always, kind of move toward the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, or, well, the Brotherhood of Mutants. They got rid of the evil part at some point. I remember they used to be evil. We're going to take a sip. This beer is not evil. Actually, this beer is rather nice. And 7%. I'm legitimately shocked. I'm legitimately shocked this came out as well as it did. And happy, because I didn't have to get up and redo the intro. And the one thing I will say, shockingly, despite the fact that there is 0 head retention, that is really fizzy. Like, really well carbonated. Still, after 7 years, probably all that, it's in my moustache, my apologies. Probably, all the Belgian yeast they use, and again, a lot of them aren't filtered, though this looks relatively clear. But as we get down to the bottom of the bottle, we will see. Number 2! This one, I think, is actually a mutually beneficial trade, because, in my opinion, both of these characters are kind of cut from the same cloth in so many ways. From Marvel, I'm removing a Brotherhood member, the White Queen, Emma Frost. And I'm going to swap her with Catwoman, Selina Kyle. My reasoning is essentially, like I said, I truly believe Emma Frost and Catwoman Selina Kyle are weirdly mirror images of each other. You know, snarky attitude, very powerful, more powerful than people want to give them credit for, and both seem to relish in the wreaking of havoc. So, mainly the only difference is between the two of them is that Emma Frost is a mutant and a telepath, and that's why I think, and I'm going to fanboy over her for that character for a little bit, because you know what? I know that there's a new run going out right now, Emma Frost, and from what people have saying, it's been pretty good. I think I'm going to maybe wait till the trade paperback comes out and pick it up. But she is a character that I don't think gets the proper respect in the Marvel Universe for how disturbingly powerful of a telepath in the comics she actually is. Like in the comics, Charles Xavier, Professor X, him himself being a high-level telepath, he had said on numerous occasions, because of her iteration, she was actually an X-Men temporarily, that she was probably the most powerful telepath he had ever seen, including himself and even Jean Grey when she had the Phoenix. But yet, they just kind of ignore her, and I don't think they should, because like that is a character you could do a heck of a lot with. And then flop it over to Catwoman. I mean, same thing, other than the fact that she is a human and not any sort of telepath. Like, you've got those two right there, pretty much mirror images, cut from the same cloth. Both would relish in any universe they were in, so I think it would be interesting. What kind of foil would Emma Frost be for Batman? And conversely, what kind of foil would Selina Kyle, Catwoman, be for the X-Men? I think both of those are really, really interesting prospects. So that one is more of a selfish one for both of them. However, this third one is, we're going to talk about my favorite character right there. I'm taking from the Brotherhood, the Juggernaut, Kane Marco from Marvel, and I'm swapping him with something maybe people have forgotten about, because I want to kind of keep the powers and things relatively similar to each other. And honestly, with how overpowered the Juggernaut is, there aren't many beings that you could swap him out with in the DC universe. However, there is one I thought of, and that would be Doomsday. Doomsday actually was the one that killed Superman the first time back in Comic People. 91? 92? Somewhere around there. Was the first death of Superman, and it was at the hands of Doomsday. And Doomsday, they said, was a Kryptonian from the same planet that Superman was. But in reality, I believe his history was he was actually bred as a lab experiment and was on Krypton for a while. Through several of his deaths and reincarnations that he was doing training there, and through that he developed an irrational hatred of all Kryptonians, and thus Superman ultimately when the two of them met. So you talk about, and on top of that, the character himself was essentially chaos barely chained, complete destruction, which is what the Juggernaut is. And I think it would make sense because Doomsday, not really a mutant per se, he's a genetically modified creature, whereas the Juggernaut, also not a mutant. Everybody thinks he is. He is not. He is essentially a metahuman due to the power of the Crimson Ruby of Sidorak, which is what gives him his size, strength, and power. So I figure two non-mutants, but both highly powerful and highly destructive, swapping places. Like, I've maintained for a long time. I'm going to take a sip because this one bears a sip. Oh, now it's warming up. Let's get it a little warmed up. Yeah, more of that chamomile flavor's coming out. I like that. Man, that's tasty. Yeah. Now that spice is really coming out as it starts to warm up. Now I'm really getting that the chamomile, and now the heather is a lot more prevalent. I'm getting that little caramel flavor. So what was I saying? Oh, yeah. But I have also maintained that Batman has the greatest, hands down, the greatest rogues gallery of all time. The villains that Batman has in his arsenal, truly incredible. Marvel, I don't think, can really hold a candle to one person having that many great high-level villains. Like the Joker, hands down the greatest villain in comics and the most sadistic. Catwoman, the Scarecrow, the Riddler, Penguin, Bane for a time. He was dealing with. Didn't he mess around with Darkseid for a little? I think Darkseid for a little bit. Solomon Grundy. So he's Killer Croc. He's dealt with a lot. So I think putting the Juggernaut in that mix actually makes weirdly perfect sense, because if anybody's going to figure out a way, because guess what? The X-Men couldn't do it. But if anybody could figure out a way how to neutralize him, it would be Batman, although I don't think he would have a shot. And Doomsday and the Brotherhood, that makes perfect sense. Just unleash a massive weapon of destruction upon the X-Men, and basically, let's see what happens from there. So that was 1, 2, 3. Okay. So number 4. I thought long and hard about this one. I came up with the DC character first, and that would be Wonder Woman, Diana of Themyscira. And I thought to myself, who in the world could I possibly swap that would kind of be really interesting? And the first initial thought was Rogue, but I think I found somebody that fit even more. So I'm going to swap Wonder Woman, Diana, Princess of Themyscira, daughter of Hippolyta of the Amazons, to the Marvel Universe, and I am going to bring in from the X-Men Storm, Aurora Monroe, mainly because I think they about equal each other on potential destructive capability. Storm has the power of, essentially the weather, the planet itself. And Wonder Woman, depending on which version you read, she was either the daughter of Zeus and Hippolyta, Queen of the Amazons, or was the one that it is, I think, more prevalent was they went down to the beach and they formed the baby that would become Wonder Woman out of clay, after having been granted permission to do so and imbued with the strength of the Greek pantheon. So either way, you have two incredibly highly destructive characters, both of whom have pretty similar mentalities, good to a certain extent, but will unleash the full wrath if needed. So Wonder Woman in the X-Men could actually be very interesting, and I think would actually be a good counterbalance for some of the waffling that those guys do. And then swap over Storm. I think she would actually fit in well with the Amazons. I 100% do. I think that would be really interesting. And this has been really interesting. Like I said, it's given me... And the best thing... I'm going to take a pause before we get to the fifth and final one. It's nice. Like, getting back, once really getting into the YouTube community and, like, all the comic people that I now know, it's like, okay, it kind of renewed my love for getting back into comics and really digging into the ones that I liked back in the day. And, it's been kind of fun. And especially this one. So, again, this is for Alex Big Blue, his 500 sub video. Or, I am just off the game tonight. Well, it could be the 7% beer. But his 500 sub giveaway is going on till October 10th. A link to him and a link to the video will be in the description. Check it out. And honestly, I think this is a fun one. And because it gets you thinking. It gets you thinking about interesting things, which is the whole point of basically sitting here, having a beer, and just shooting the breeze with you guys. It's just the point to waffle on about what's in my brain. And for a lot of... I apologize in advance for that, because a lot of the times what's in the brain is... it ain't good. It ain't good sometimes. It's weird. Don't like it. Part of me... for next time, wants to take the beer out a little before I do this to kind of let it warm up to really get the full flavor, because the full flavor is coming out of this now because it's been about 20 minutes. And it's really good. Like, now the aroma has completely changed. Like, now it's actually a little caramely. The chamomile has definitely subsided. The lavender's still completely non-existent, which I'm perfectly fine with because, again, that's a flavor that just overpowers very quickly. So now, the final one. And this is one I wanted to initially swap the Joker. But there wasn't really anybody in the Marvel Universe that I really consider on par with him. Like, through just the level of complete psycho. I mean, a psychopath. That's what his character is, and that's why I always had a huge problem with them making the movie, because you can't have a villain carry a movie, because without the hero, the villain, nobody really cares. And if the hero's in the movie, is the movie not then about the hero? But that's just my thoughts. So I came up with an interesting one, and I think it would be really interesting. I'm taking Deadpool out of Marvel, and I'm swapping him with the Riddler, Edward Nygma. And Deadpool, by the way, is Wade Wilson, in case anybody didn't know or was curious. For the sole reason of, I think it would be hilarious. I think it would be really funny to see Deadpool mainly, just being a massive menace, annoyance, and thorn in the side of Batman. I truly think that would be hilarious. And then, because Daredevil is essentially mercenary, anti-hero, whatever, though he does tend to side more toward the quote-unquote good side, the Riddler being more on the evil side, I think he could probably fit in with one of the fringe groups of the Brotherhood. Not the Brotherhood per se, but one of the fringe evil groups. I think he could have some fun there. But mainly that one is just to see what kind of menace Deadpool could be to Batman. And I think that would be absolutely hilarious. So that's it. I had a lot of fun with this one. Alex, this was a good one. And also, congratulations to you on the 500 subs, man. That is a huge milestone. That is awesome. So link to him and a link to the video will be in the description below. Check it out. Check him out. He opens up a lot of stuff. He does a lot of comics. It's fun stuff. And I wanted to now address the Flemish versus Dutch thing. I said in the previous one, where I probably absolutely badly butchered the pronunciation of the cheers in Flemish, I said Flemish and Dutch were closely related, and I actually undersold that. I did not realize, actually, apparently, how closely related they are. I thought, incorrectly, that Flemish was more akin to French. No, it turns out not so much. Essentially, and Freedom, if you watch this, or anybody that speaks either Dutch or Dutch or Flemish, please let me know. It seems to be that the difference between Dutch and Flemish is kind of like the difference between American English and British English. Pretty much the same, with a few differences based on local slang. So, I don't know. And this is the cool thing about it. The more you learn. And that's what I love doing this. I love being able to learn something, talk to you guys about stuff for 20 minutes or so, have a beer, and just enjoy the evening. So, in that vein, we are going to make the absolute vain attempt once again to do the cheers for the Flemish. So, cheers, my friends. Santé, mein Vrienden. We have one more sip. Then we're going to close with the teas. Tomorrow, hopefully the drink of choice will be good as well. I have it picked out in advance. And it's weird that the beverage of choice and the subject matter of choice are weirdly relatively related, because tomorrow I'm going to talk to you guys for 20 minutes or so about how alcohol or booze in general not only perhaps saved, but in fact built civilization. So think about that one. Have a great rest of your evening. And I'm going to leave you with this final thought. If you think about it, math is the only place where a person can get 60 watermelon and 40 cantaloupe and nobody asks any questions. Have a good evening.